What is up, F and true followers and the members of the YWC? JAC Styles here with the F brand of wrestling and entertainment here on YouTube.com with the Monday Night Raw Super Show live March 5th, 2012. Gonna get right into it. Got a lot to talk about in only a little bit of time, so here we go. We start off the show with Shawn Michaels coming out, talking about how Triple H accepted The Undertaker's challenge for WrestleMania. Said he wants to know what changed Hunter's mind. Triple H calls out Triple H and says he was hard on Triple H a few weeks ago, hitting him below the belt, calling him a coward, calling him everything under the sun, and referred to Triple H being as strong as an oak. Oak meaning he was strong and that couldn't his vibe wasn't broken down and like it was a week later when Undertaker came out. Then Shawn Michaels said he wants to see the footage from 2 weeks ago where Triple H's mind was changed. We see the promo come on, and that was when Triple H said no, and Undertaker says, you know, it just dawned on me that you're just afraid that you're gonna do what your good buddy Shawn couldn't accomplish, and that Shawn is truly better than you. Then we see, play it out. We see Triple H come down. He gets hot and bothered, and we see him accept the challenge. Then we see Shawn Michaels get kind of aggravated about this and says that everything that we've been through, everything that has gone down, this is what's coming. This is how it's going to be going down. And Triple H went on and said, I called you, and if you want to do this right out here in front of everybody, here we go. He's like, I'm sick and tired of hearing people talk about you behind your back, saying you couldn't hang, you couldn't get the job done, you failed, you took the ball and went home, etc. Then Shawn Michaels turns around, and then we see Triple H say to Shawn that at WrestleMania 28, I am going to do what I know I can do, and I am going to end an era. I am going to end The Undertaker. I am going to destroy him. And then we see Shawn Michaels, and he says, then we see him look at Shawn and says, I'm going to do it for me, and I'm especially doing it for you. And Shawn says, oh, well, I thought I was going to come out here and we were going to have a problem, but lo and behold, Triple H, with his big, bright, fancy suit, got it all covered. And then he goes, last year, it bothered me when I came out to this ring and looked you in the eye and said, you can't beat The Undertaker. This year, I know for a fact that I'm going to be right again. And we see Shawn Michaels go to leave the ring. And then he goes, and I know for a fact the right person is going to win because I am going to be the special guest referee at WrestleMania 28. Then we see, right before it goes to commercial, we see a tag team match announced shown for later in the night. We see Sheamus and CM Punk to take on Daniel Bryan and Chris Jericho. We also see Rock and Cena confrontation later on in the night. Then we come back from a commercial, and we have a United States Championship match. Now, as we all know, Teddy Long was the special general manager for tonight, as John Laurinaitis is going to be running SmackDown tomorrow night. We saw Jack Swagger defend against Santino Marella, with John Laurinaitis, Ziggler, Otunga, and Vicky Guerrero outside the ring, followed by Teddy Long, Oksana, and Kofi Kingston, with many attempts of outside interference by Ziggler and Vicky. We see Oksana push Vicky Guerrero down. We see Kofi knock out Dolph Ziggler. We see a brawl between Laurinaitis and Teddy Long outside the ring, which had the referee distracted, while Jack Swagger had the ankle lock on Santino. Santino reversed the hold, which threw Jack Swagger into the turnbuckle, which allowed Santino to roll up Jack Swagger in the new United States Champione, Santino Marella. We see John Laurinaitis try to reverse the decision to try to take control back of his show. We see Teddy Long say, I got one better for you. He called security and had John Laurinaitis escorted from the arena. And as the post-match, we see Teddy Long give the mic back to Justin Roberts and says, as you were, and they announce Santino Marella as the new United States champion. Could there possibly be a rematch this Friday night on SmackDown? Will we see Jack Swagger pick up the United States Championship? Or will we see Santino run with the United States Championship for a couple of weeks? Then we see The Rock's Boston history lesson to John Cena. On the bridge, we see John Cena's merchandise thrown out into the Boston Sound, the Boston Harbor, whatever it was. It was just a very comical skit. Then we come back from commercial. We see Eve Torres pick up the win over Alicia Fox with Kelly outside on commentary. Then Zack Ryder's music hits and says, don't even try it to explain anything to me. Zack Ryder comes out and says, I'm glad we didn't get together. Broskies before Hoskies. And we go to commercial. Then we see an advertisement for John Cena. John Cena right before we see Eve chasing down backstage Zack Ryder and kisses Zack Ryder. We see Zack Ryder with a smile on his face, and we go to commercial. We then come back. John Cena talks about WrestleMania 28 and what it means to him. Growing up watching wrestling and being a wrestling fan, grew up about where he came, talked about where he came from and the tough times he had. He talked about how if he loses at WrestleMania, everything goes away. Everything that he has fought for in the WWE since joining back in 2002 goes right out the window. And we see another then we go to a commercial break. We come back. We see CM Punk and Sheamus wrestling against Daniel Bryan and Chris Jericho, with Daniel Bryan and Chris Jericho picking up the win. This was a very fantastic tag team match. It was very good. We see The Miz getting ready to take on the Big Show, but then we see Cody Rhodes with another Big Show embarrassing WrestleMania moment from WrestleMania 18. WWF at the time, New York, eating a big meal. We then see the Big Show put The Miz away real quick. Then The Rock comes out. The Rock is standing at the Boston Common Park. Rock says he's taking Cena on a history lesson. He is going to make history April 1st in his hometown. Then the Rock Revolution has begun. We hear The Rock say, I'm coming to the TD Garden, so Cena, get ready. I am going to look you in the eye and tell you the world what I see in you or what I think of you. Then we see R-Truth versus Kane. We see Kane pick up the win. Post-match, as Kane's hitting his pyro in the middle of the ring, Randy Orton's music hits, comes out and hits a devastating RKO, gets on the mic and says, I'm glad to be back. Now, is this a signs of a possible Kane versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania feud going on? Only time could tell. Let's see what happens this Friday night on SmackDown. We then move into the last segment of the night, which is The Rock and John Cena. We hear the John Cena's music hit. John Cena comes out, talks about The Rock's history lesson, says everything The Rock needs to be electrifying and entertaining. The crowd chants for Rocky. Cena wonders who's really coming out. Is it going to be Rock or Dwayne? Cena compares Rock to Situation from the Jersey Shore. Says that The Rock is trying too hard. Cena says last week we all saw that The Rock was shook. He came out and he plugged 20 minutes of talking about Chinese food and Twitter and trending worldwide and how he had The Rock scared. Then Cena goes on to say it's a bad idea for The Rock to meet him in the ring. Cena says The Rock's best stuff has either been pre-taped or live via satellite. Rock wonders who will be at WrestleMania, the dude wasting 20 minutes of talking or the greatest WWE star in history. The fans start to chant Rocky. The Rock comes out. Rock says he was going to look Cena in the eye and tell him what he sees. Rock approaches Cena and says he sees fear in Cena. Fear that The Rock is taking everything away from him. Some of the crowd chants for Cena. The Rock goes on to talk about Cena starts to talk about Cena's eyes and the doubt in his words. Rock says he sees right through Cena's whole facade of being WWE Superman. Rock says Cena didn't shake his confidence, and we get chants from the crowd again. The Rock says he's never been more confident in anything he has ever done in his life. Rock says Cena will always be a little boy that went down as The Rock's bitch. Now The Rock's music hits. We see Cena turn around and says he doesn't care about how much The Rock weighs, how tall The Rock is. He doesn't care. The Rock says he would have to rip his throat out. He will rip Cena's throat out at WrestleMania, and then Cena says you will have to do that to beat me. Then we see that basically the show goes off the air, and right before the show goes off the air, Cena goes to climb the rope. He goes and jumps in the crowd right behind the announcers table, and he's sitting on the barricade with the fans. And at this point at time, I'm starting to think, okay. And then I see him pick up a beer and take a drink. Now, for someone who's supposed to be setting a good example for the kids, you're going to drink a beer on live TV. I know this has helped building up a storyline, but it is what it is. Then we see The Rock. We see Cena go over and hug his father, shake hands with his brother-in-law, kiss his wife, and basically introduces his father, his wife, and his brother-in-law, and his cousin Trademark. I think that was behind his father. So all in all, it was a pretty good Raw. Please check my quick update following this video on the special announcement for next week's Monday Night Raw. Guys, I'm JC Styles. Have a great night, and we'll see you back later in the week.